to the 20 time project. I will take you through the workspace that all students will be able to work through, and we will take questions at the end. Although if either Mr. Westner or Miss Allen has a question, they do have a chat window where they can type things in. I may not see it all the time though, because I will be sharing my screen with you. So let's get started. I'm going to share the entire screen with you. And yeah, that gets pretty crazy. So this is what we're going to do. I got to go here, and now I'm going to my workspace. Okay, grade 8s, you haven't seen much of the workspace yet. The workspace is part of Hapara, and you get into it by typing in mystudentdashboard.com into the URL address bar, and it's just your usual Google sign-in that you use for it. Okay. Grades 6, 7, and 8. It is the Genius Hour stuff is shown in your math course, and that was just for ease of getting everything set up. Okay, so this is what the workspace looks like to you. Okay, you will see that there are goals. We have resources. There's evidence that you can share with your teachers, and these are the rubrics that we'll be using to evaluate your work. All right. There's some things here. There will be a list of when things are due. Here are all the teachers that have access to it. And you guys can add resources. If you find something that you think will be useful for the 20 time project, go ahead and add it. If you have some additional evidence that you want to add to your own, you can do that too. Okay? First thing I want to do, though, is share a video with you. Meet with me, or Mr. Westner, or Miss Allen, or whoever your mentor is. Okay.
Created using Powtoon.
There you go. So that video is there just as a refresher of what the 20 time project is about. It's a very, very brief introduction. This document in the workspace will actually go into more detail about what's involved with it, what you need to do, and how it's going to work. Okay? Essentially, the 20 time project is an opportunity for you to learn about something that you're interested in. It doesn't matter what it is. Well, as long as it's school appropriate, that is. And you can do anything you want with it, within reason, okay? The introduction says, how would you like to have the opportunity to learn about anything you wanted? Maybe you want to learn more about the history of computers. Maybe you want to learn how to build a go-kart. Maybe you want to learn a new language. Genius Hour gives you the opportunity to explore your passions. You decide what you want to learn about, how you're going to go about learning it, and how you will present what you've learned to others. How's it going to work? Well, on Friday afternoons between now and the end of June, you're going to have 1 to 2 hours, depending on if you have any work to catch up on, working on, we'll call it Genius Hour 20 time. They kind of work together. You can decide to work by yourself on your project, or you can work with a small group. However, you need to be careful about working with a group. You have to be able to compromise with the people that you're working with, deal with their personalities, and figure out what's going to happen when people aren't sharing their load. If you work by yourself, you have complete autonomy. You get to make all the decisions, but you also are responsible by yourself for the outcome. The other thing you have to consider if you're going to work in a group, is the person a worker, or are they just going to float along and leave you doing everything? And can you get along with that person for the entire semester? Is the person going to keep you on track, or are they going to be a distraction? This is not about hanging out with friends, but it's about making something really cool or learning something different. What you need to do is choose a project or a subject or something that is brand new to you and something that you wouldn't normally do in another academic class. If you're stuck, you can do some research online and check out 20 time or 20% time or Genius Hour projects and see what kind of stuff is out there. In the end, there has to be some sort of a product or achieve some sort of goal. For example, you may decide that you would like to learn a language. Your presentation at the end then should show some evidence that you actually have learned a language. Okay? You have to write up a proposal. Okay, written proposal, and I'll go through the proposal to show you the template, what it looks like, and then you also have to pitch it or give a short presentation to the rest of the class that gives a purpose for your project, who the intended audience for your project is, what your timeline is going to be, and what resources you would need to complete the project. You will present it in kind of a science fair, either poster session or a very short slideshow in front of other students, teachers, maybe community members. We haven't quite set the exact date for that yet. We will let you know. It will be towards the end of March before the spring break. You need to choose an adult to be your official mentor. Consider the expertise that you would like your mentor to have. If you choose someone other than one of your teachers, you have to give them the mentor letter, and I'll show you that later, and have them sign the mentor agreement. You can't just go say, you're going to be my mentor, and surprise them. You need to reflect on the process each week on a personal blog using Blogger, which is one of the Google apps that you have access to. And if at any time you feel lost, overwhelmed, uninspired, set a meeting with one of the teachers, preferably your homeroom teacher, to see if you can find a solution. Okay? At the end of the year, you will present your project and reflect on the process in a 5-minute TED-style talk. And if you've ever seen any of the videos about TED Talks, you'll understand what that is. Just somebody standing up and talking about their project for 5 minutes. Failure is an option. There will be things that will not go well. Your project may be a failure, but the idea is that you're going to learn from the mistakes that you make and move on. That's what experimentation and learning is all about, making mistakes, figuring out what we did wrong, and going on. Okay, deliverables. Deliverables are the evidence that you're going to have to create to document your progress on your project. These items must be kept in your digital folder, so you can create a folder in Drive or a physical paper folder that you also have, or binder that your teacher can see at any time. You have to keep all your stuff together. So if you've got a digital folder, you're going to have to keep it all in one place. Okay, so make a folder in Drive for Genius Hour or 20 time. Put all your stuff in there. Try and find a separate binder or a folder or something to put all your stuff in, any papers that you have. Okay, if you take pictures, all of that kind of stuff. The implementation guide will let you expand upon the timeline that you include in your project proposal by adding things other than the deliverables. This document needs to be shared with your teachers so they can see if you're staying on schedule and assist you to making changes if your timeline is needed. The nice thing about Workspace, though, is that as soon as you submit it, if we take a look at the Workspace here, if I open up the implementation guide here, you guys will open it up. And once you've finished working on it, you can close it, and you will have a submit button under here that when you're done, you can just click submit, and it will go to us, and whichever teacher is responsible for your homeroom will take a look at it and have that discussion with you about whether or not there needs to be anything else done with it. Okay? The proposal looks like this. And again, it's the same thing. Once you're done with it, You can just hit submit and it'll be done. There's a lot of stuff written in here. What you will do with this is just get rid of the things that are not in there. So under needs and opportunities, you're going to explain what the problem is that you're trying to solve or what it is you want. A problem trying to solve can be, I want to learn such and such. My problem is I want to learn how to play the piano. Okay? Or do you have a driving question? Is there something you really want to find out about? This is the hook that's going to grab the audience's attention when you're presenting your project. Who's going to benefit from your project? It can be just you. It doesn't have to be anybody else. And if it is going to be somebody else, so interview someone who will benefit from your project to gain a better understanding of the needs of your audience. For example, one small group of people were talking about building an app that they said might be useful in school stuff. So what they would need to do is talk to the people that they would plan to sell that to and see what the needs of their audience would be. You need a timeline, okay? We've got the timeline here with the blog. These are the things you have to answer each week in the blog. When you do this, you need to have 100 words for each of your posts. By the end of the month, we're going to expect you to have your brainstorming guide done, the implementation guide done, and the blog planning sheet done, and we'll go through those too. Sometime in late March, before spring break, we'll do the pitch presentations. Okay, the actual written proposal will be due on March 11th. Okay, and then that will give you time to get your presentation ready to present to everybody else about what it is that you're going to do. These are the other Fridays that we have. So as you can see, there's only 4 other Fridays before the final presentations after we do the pitch presentations. That means that you're probably going to have to do some work on your project outside of school. You're probably not going to have enough time to do it just on Friday afternoons. But that's okay. There's a real good reason for doing this and doing it really well, and we'll get to that in a minute. Okay? The proposal, what are you actually going to show us in June? What is the product that you're going to have to show? If you're learning a language, what are you going to do with it? If you're building a go-kart, how are you going to show it works?
Start it.
Okay. Reality check. I need to know, what equipment are you going to need to do this? What other things are you going to have to spend money on? We are not supplying the stuff you need. If you want to do something that's going to cost money, that's up to you to talk with your parents about. Okay? How are you going to meet the needs that you have? If you do need money to buy something and your parents are saying, well, it's your project, what are you going to do to earn that money that you need for your project? And finally, the conclusion. Wrap up. Tell us, why are you all excited about this project? Inspire us to support you and give us a great reason to approve your project. Then, once you've done all of that, you need to print this out, because you're going to have to get your homeroom teacher to sign off on it. Then you're going to have to take it home to your parents and get your parents to sign off on it as well. Okay? That way we make sure that everybody's in the loop, everybody knows what's going on. Okay? We don't want any surprises. All right, so that's the proposal. And that's all part of that. We went through the proposal document. When you do your presentation, these are the questions that you're going to have to answer. You're going to have a problem statement. Tell me, what is the problem you're going to address? Why is it a problem? How could failing to solve this problem cause more problems? Suggest that the situation is not irreversible. Okay? I want to learn how to speak Spanish. Why? Because I like to go to places where it's warm and they speak Spanish. How could failing to solve this problem cause more problems? Well, I have a really hard time communicating with people in Mexico if I don't know Spanish. Okay? But it's not irreversible. I am not too old to learn a new language. Some people might disagree with that, but I'm not. This new idea of me learning a language would allow me to communicate with people who actually live in Mexico when I go down there. I am the right person to solve the problem because I'm the one that wants to learn the language. Okay, so I have to do it. So why are you the right person to do whatever it is that you want to do? And how the world looks better with the problem solved? Well, I'm not going to look like a complete idiot now when I go to Mexico. That's a good thing. Okay, blog. You must document your learning in a blog. As a student in Wolf Creek, you have access to Blogger. And I will show you what my blog looks like. A blog is just like almost like an online diary. Okay? So this is the one I created in Blogger. It took me about, maybe 5 minutes to set it up. And we will do a lesson with you to help you get that set up when you're ready to do that. And you just write in it, and then there's a space for people to actually add comments if they want to what you've had to say. All right? The following questions: what did you accomplish this week? What are you working on right now? What do you plan to do next? And I want to see a photo. Or if you've got a video that goes along with it, you can attach a video too. You are also going to be required to post comments on at least 3 other blogs each week. And it doesn't have to be the same 3 blogs every week. We've got, what, 60, 70 people in all of grades 6, 7, and 8 that will be doing this project. You don't have to comment just on the blogs within your grade. You can comment on the blogs within any grade. Okay? When you've posted to the blog, there is a form for you to complete that is linked in the workspace. Right there. And on that form, you're going to choose what class you're in. You're going to put today's date in. You're going to tell me that your post is at least 100 words long, and it also includes a photo that you have the right to publish. Okay, you have to give me a link to your post. So copy the link to your post and put it in here. But then I'm also going to get you to copy the text to your post in here. And 100 words doesn't take that long, right? It's only about a good sized paragraph or so. Put it in there, and then here I want you to put the links to the 3 blogs that you've commented on this week, and then you hit submit. It comes to a form that Miss Allen, Mr. Western, and myself can all see, and then we can track our own kids to see what they're doing, making sure that you're staying on top of your blogs. So that's a quick way for us to check to see who's done what. Okay? All right. Your mark for this part of the project is not going to be maybe used as a mark for LA. It will be used as a mark for LA. And I'll explain more about that in a minute. The final presentation will take place in June. All students will be required to present their completed project to an audience of peers, teachers, and parents in June. The presentations will be evaluated using the same rubric as your pitch presentation. The final presentation needs to include the information on the following. What were the successes of your project? Were there any hurdles that you had to overcome? Was there a point where you had to stop and readjust the project on a grand scale, where things just were not working and you had to almost do a reboot or a reset? What were the weaknesses of your project? What was the most important thing you learned throughout your project? If you were assigned this project again, what topic or goal would you choose? There's also a self-evaluation rubric that you will use to evaluate yourself and your accomplishments in this project. And your project will be considered incomplete if any part of it is missing. So all the parts need to be there. For this year, Miss Allen is going to use this as a potential final exam for you instead of, if you do this project and do a good job, you will not have to do a written final in English. Yes. Okay? But this, whatever mark you would get on this, would replace that final exam mark. Please. Okay? So it's almost like you get like part of February, March, April, May, June to do your final exam. Really, is what it comes down to. Okay? So let's take a look at the rest of the rubrics really quick. Okay. This rubric of creativity is just something that you can take a look at to see what kind of creative person you are, and it will give you some ideas potentially on what kinds of things you might like to do for your project. Okay? So, ambiguity. Ambiguity, the quality. I'm okay with a little confusion, knowing that there's more than one way to do the job. Are you okay sometimes if things aren't clear-cut? Yes. And this is what the criteria would be. I don't need to ask the teacher a lot of questions. I can think for myself, get it done. or I need to know exactly what needs to be done. I need a list of instructions. Inquisitiveness. Do I like to ask questions? Do I create a lot of ideas? Do I create, unique ideas? And are you flexible? So there's this here. That may give you some idea on what kind of project you may want to attack. Okay, the RISE model, there's 2 links here. If you're giving feedback to someone on their project, this link here would help you. If you read through this might give you some ideas on how to give somebody feedback on their project, especially if you're posting a comment on their blog. Okay? That will come in very handy for that. This one here will help you evaluate your own stuff, especially if you're working in a group. Are you helping out? Are you being a good contributor? Are you pulling your weight? Okay? Project proposal rubric. Okay, marked out of 4. And it talks about whether or not you've done a good job in writing up the purpose and description. If you've chosen something that's new and challenging, okay, and in that part that's new and challenging, you're explaining to us why it's new to you, why it's challenging, and all the steps, all the planning pieces. So this piece here is worth 12 marks total, okay? And I've used a high school in the States. They had a project handbook, and I've just taken some of the stuff that they've done and just adapted it for our level.
Can you come to the office, please?
Okay, the pitch and the final presentation rubric are exactly the same, right? The content is important, but the content is being evaluated in other places. The presentation is being evaluated strictly on you did it or didn't do it. Do you look professional? Are you dressed well? Are you holding yourself properly? Facial expressions. Are you monotone, stone face, or are you actually showing some expression and life in your face? Are you using eye contact with your audience? Are you standing straight but looking relaxed? Are you using appropriate gestures? Are you moving around just the right amount, like you're not giving people eye strain? Okay? So that's the same for both the pitch that you'll be doing in March, the very short presentation, and exactly the same for the final presentation. All right? And for these presentations, I think the 3 of us teachers, Miss Allen, myself, and Mr. Wessner, we will evaluate the presentations. Okay? Whether we do them all together, I don't know if we have enough time to sit and watch 75 in a row. We will probably just take care of our own classes. Okay, the next rubric, the blog. This one's fairly intense. Okay, and where did my link go? I lost it. My link disappeared. There we go. Okay. Creativity and content. There's 2 areas under here. There's the voice. Okay. Are you using your own voice in this? Can we tell that there's some expression of you in this? How well is it organized? Is it timely? Are you doing it on time when you need to? Have you done a weekly blog? The mechanics, that's the written piece. Have you written good sentences, good grammar, good punctuation, good spelling, capitalization, all of those things that you're normally assessed with in language arts? Okay. Layout. Have you laid out the document nicely? Does it look nice? Do you have hyperlinks in there? Do you have links to other things on the web? Maybe other things that you've done or links to documents. Are you using some graphics or multimedia in your blog? Citation. We are not going to look for formal citations. What we are going to look for, though, is that if you use a picture from somebody else's website, you acknowledge where you got it from. Okay? You have to tell us where you get stuff from, who you use, who created it. If you created it, great. That's fine. But if it's from someone else that created it, whether it's a video or a picture or a link to something, you need to tell us where you got it from. And then there's also a section here on whether or not you commented on other people's blogs on a regular basis the way you were asked to. 3 comments on different blogs each week. The blog, as you can see, it's the written assignment. That's the biggest part of it. It's worth 44 marks. Okay, this is the big, huge written assignment piece. And that's what makes this really, really legitimate for LA, as well as the presentations, because in LA you also have to be able to present your ideas to other people. Okay, then the final self-evaluation, which you will do and share with your teacher, is going to be your own assessment of your own work. How much time did you put in? How motivated were you to ask questions and want to get the answers? Did you create unique ideas? What was your overall learning like for the Genius Hour project? And how do you feel your overall quality of your presentation was? Then there's a reflection here that you'll need to answer and do some written work. Here, you could do this piece right online. You wouldn't have to print this out and write it. You could just do it online. Okay? The brainstorming guide is going to be the first thing that you guys will tackle starting later today, and I'll just show you what it looks like so you know what it'd be like when you get it here in a bit. The brainstorming guide is hopefully going to help you get some ideas for what you will do with your project. Going to put your name on it. You need to keep this document. Okay? This is going to be your guiding document. You're going to need to keep this in a binder or folder, wherever it is that you're going to keep all your 20-time stuff. Okay, the first part, just brainstorm some ideas. What do you like to do? What are you good at? What do you love to learn about? What are some things that you wonder about? List all of the things that you've ever wanted to do physically and have never been able to do. List all of the things that you've ever wanted to do with your mind, mentally, and never been able to do. Think of some ways that you could help your community. Or think of some ways you could help the school. Think of some hobbies that you've always wanted to try but never have had the time to, or just never got around to. Then, the second piece of this, choose your favorite 3 from all of this stuff above, from numbers 1 to 5, and just write about them for 5 minutes. Everything you can possibly think about. You do it on a separate sheet of paper and then staple it to the back so we have it all together. For these things, for these 3 things, you're going to answer the questions. What would your goal be if you went after this as your project? How would you get there? Would you need any help? How could you work on this thing every week? What would your 20 time look like on those Friday afternoons in class? Okay? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a quick video of what a sample pitch would look like, and also a sample 5-minute presentation. Okay, keep in mind that these are high school kids, so the level of quality that we expect from you guys might be a little bit different than what high school kids would give us, but you still get the idea.
I love creating, writing, and telling stories, and for me, telling a story through a video game is combining the best of both worlds. I recently wrote a sci-fi storyline named Extreme Justice. To bring the story to life, I have used different 3D modeling and animation programs, such as Autodesk Maya and Autodesk Mudbox, as well as using the Unreal Game Engine to actually make my characters playable. I believe that these role-playing games are a new way to tell epic tales in a fun and exciting manner.
Okay, quick pitch. 31 seconds. That was just part of his pitch. It wasn't quite finished. Okay? And you guys can always, I know the sound quality wasn't that great on that one. You can always just listen to it to yourself because you have access to all of this stuff when you're in your Chromebooks. Okay, here's a sample of a final presentation.
How much do you guys think this shirt costs? What? $20, $15 for a plain white t-shirt? $60. I mean, it's not made of gold. This t-shirt does not promise to cure cancer. Clothing is needlessly and ridiculously overpriced. You think that because these retailers are so expensive, they use quality fabrics and give fair wages to their workers. This is generally not the case. Expensive retailers such as Free People School, Anthropology, and Abercrombie and Fitch use the same sweatshop labor in China that Forever 21 and stores like it do. When I say thrift shop, most of you probably think of Macklemore. Or weird, outdated clothing that smells like dust in your grandparents' house. Everything I'm wearing right now was purchased at a secondhand store for under $80. For some perspective, I looked up how much these shoes would have cost had I bought them directly from the retailer. It was twice what everything cost. So, as you can see, it's not just mom jeans and weird 80s prom dresses. There's a whole range of secondhand stores, from the pedestrian Salvation Army and Goodwill to the classy vintage clothing shops. Secondhand stores are one of our most untapped natural resources. Who cares about oil? It's all about Goodwill.
Okay, so you can go watch that video eventually. All right. We will be taking you through some Google search lessons. Those of you that are in grades 7 and 8, we did a little bit of that last year when we were in computer class. It's time to put those search lessons to work, but there's some review there, and we'll also do some work with the grade 6s and a little bit of improving your skills. This is called evaluating information, and it's called the crap test. Yeah, you can giggle. Okay, it's about evaluating the information you find online. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Really, honest.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Okay, so here are some questions to ask when you go to a website and you want to find out if the information they have is legitimate. This document is here in the workspace. Use it. We will go through it in more detail when we have a chance so that you guys can learn even better about how to judge whether or not the information is valid for you. Okay? The mentor agreements. This is a letter. When you decide that you want somebody to be your mentor for your project, you need to give them this letter. But you're going to have to do some writing in here. Okay? The red stuff, of course, you're going to take out. This is just a template. You're going to put in your name, leave the school address, put the date that you're writing the letter, who is the letter to, their mailing address, dear Mr., Ms., Mrs., whoever it is. And then you're going to introduce yourself and your project. You're going to ask them to be your mentor and describe what you need from the mentor. You're going to explain the mentor agreement in a form that is enclosed. And you're also going to show them, give them a copy of your approved project proposal. Okay? And you can explain that your deliverable due dates are in your proposal. Explain the mentor responsibilities. And they are some of those in the mentor letter or the mentor agreement. And then thank them for taking the time to read your proposal and ask them to get back to you as soon as possible. After you print your letter, you sign it here, and the reason we have, you type your full name here, the reason we have enclosure here is to tell them that there are enclosures with the letter. Okay? We can get you envelopes so that you can put it in a nice envelope with the school address on it. You can address it to the person that you're sending it to, and if you're giving it to them, fine, or it can be mailed to them. Okay? So that's the letter that needs to go. This is the agreement that you have to get your mentor to sign and bring back to the school. And it explains to the mentor what they need to do, and that if they have any questions, they can call me here at the school. And then this is the part that they have to fill out after they have agreed to be your mentor. This is the part here that has to come back to us at the school. This is critically important if you are working with somebody outside the school. Okay? Not as important in the school, especially if it's one of us 3 teachers. But even if it is somebody in the school that you're working with, you should probably get them to sign off on this to help you with it. Okay? Just so that we know we have some record of who everybody's mentor is for all the projects. That just helps us. Okay. Where's my thing? I lost it. There we go.
What happened?
Oh, I'm just losing things here. Okay.
Oh.
Hey, Miss Allen, I see your comment there, why they need to carefully choose their groups or partners. I didn't see your comment when you did that. What was that comment about? Just hang on a second. I'm going to unmute you if you want to talk to everybody about it. You're good. Go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, no, that comment was just in reference to this potentially taking the place of a final exam for them. They also need to carefully consider that when they're choosing groups or partners to work with. If you want to be in a group where maybe everyone's not pulling their weight and have that product reflect as your final exam mark. Something that you need to consider.
Good idea.
That was it.
Okay, yeah, there'd be somebody in there. I'm going to just unmute both classrooms so that if somebody has a question, you can come up close to where the camera is so that we can see your face, speak into the mic, and we'll see if we can address your questions so that everybody hears the same answers at the same time. Anybody have any questions?
We got one.
Okay.
We got a bite.
Do you want us to start the blog today, or do we have a few weeks before we?
No, not worried about the blog just yet. I think probably we will look at the blog. Probably the first week to start the blog would be at the end of February, the 26th. That's our next Friday that we actually have classes, and that's when we want to start actually getting moving, where you can start writing about the process of you deciding what it is that you're going to do for your project. We also need to teach you guys how to use the blog, how to set it up as well. So we'll make sure that all three teachers, that we've all got that all nailed down, and I'm going to keep blogging too. I mean, my project in a way is setting up this 20-time project. So in some respects, I will be blogging just as often, and I will share my link with my blog, and you guys can comment on my blog too. I expect to hear feedback. Curtis, you have a question? Okay.
I forget. Did we make it on like a website or something? Or
What? The blog?
yeah.
Hey, Curtis was asking if we do the blog on a website. Blogs are on websites, and we have blogging software that's attached to the Google Apps. It's called blogger.com. So if you're signed into Chrome, if you're looking at the Chromebook later and you want to see what it's kind of like, just to take a peek, you can go to blogger.com and sign into it and take a look. There's all kinds of different options for how you set it up and what you do with it. But that will be the format that you're going to use for your weekly blog. Okay, you have a question? Oh, he's just taking the camera.
Can Mrs. Vardy just turn the camera so that she doesn't have to get out of her chair all the time?
No. Definitely not. Any other questions anywhere?
Anyone in here? She's the expert. Now's your time.
Anybody in Mr. Wester's room have a question? They're still muted?
Yeah.
You're muted, Mr. West. There you go. No? Oh, you're still muted. We muted you.
You muted him.
No, we say we have no questions.
No questions? We're all good? Okay.
Okay, we have a question over here.
That's about the best I've heard Mr. Westner all year, is that muted.
Hey.
Grade 8 has a question here.
Okay.
In regards to the blog, if you have more than just one person in your group, do you want them each to put a comment on it, or just one person in the
That's a
group?
good question.
I would like each, if we're going to use this as a language arts thing. I'm thinking, I would suggest that each one of you do your own blog because you're each going to have a different perspective on how the project's going, potentially, and I want to get your own feelings about it, and you each have a different voice in your group, so I think it's really important that you each have your own blog. Okay. I had a question here. Somebody asked, are you allowed to do anything you want? It has to be school appropriate, which means it has to be legal. It has to be safe.
Legal, safe.
Legal. We don't want Constable Luke coming and taking us away because you're doing something that's not legal. And ultimately, it has to be approved by your parents and by your teacher. Okay, so those are the parameters that you've got. It has to be school appropriate, legal, safe, and has to be approved by your parents and your teacher. Make sense?
Any questions?
Mr. Westner, you keep getting muted. I don't know why. There. Okay.
Oh, we do have a question.
Okay.
Can we work with anybody in like
Grade 6, 7, or 8? Yes, but it's the same thing. You got to be careful who you work with. You got to take all of those things into consideration, right? Okay. And it's still, I think you need to talk to your teachers about what you're planning to do at the same time, okay? So we'll take that on a case-by-case basis, all right? Okay. All right, so the next thing that we want you guys to do, each of your teachers has a printed out copy of the brainstorming guide. So we want you guys to start on that this afternoon. You're going to need something to write with. You're going to need to make sure that your name is on it so that if you leave it lying around, not that anybody would ever leave papers left lying around or anything like that in this school, would they? Ever. Never. Hi, Mr. Moore. Okay, so when you get it, then you can start working on this document. And if you have any really tricky questions that we haven't already answered, feel free to ask. And I really look forward to this. I think this is a great time for you guys to have a chance to do some really cool stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have come up with. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.